Smallpox is one of the deadliest diseases in human history. It didn't just kill people, it destroyed entire civilizations. Empires that stood for centuries were wiped out in just a few decades by a virus so small it could not be seen until the invention of the microscope. And when it finally disappeared from Earth in 1980, it became the first human disease ever to be completely eradicated. But how did smallpox have the power to erase empires? Let's find out. The smallpox virus is thought to have first appeared around 3,000 years ago. Egyptian mummies, including that of Ramses V, show telltale pockmarks, scarring caused by pustules that covered victims from head to toe. From Egypt, it spread along ancient trade routes to India, China, and eventually to Europe. Unlike plague or cholera, smallpox didn't need fleas, rats, or contaminated water to spread. It travelled from person to person, carried in droplets when an infected person coughed, sneezed, or even spoke. Once it entered the body, it had an incubation period of about 12 days, long enough for someone to travel hundreds of miles and unknowingly infect everyone that they met. The result? Well, pandemics that swept through continents, killing about 30% of those infected and leaving survivors blind or scarred for life. By the Middle Ages, smallpox was an unwelcome but familiar visitor in Europe. It didn't discriminate. Kings, peasants and popes all suffered alike. Queen Mary II of England died from it allegedly in 1694. Peter II of Russia, Louis XV of France, even Elizabeth I barely survived after being left permanently pockmarked. But Europe's repeated exposure to smallpox also gave it something else: immunity. Over centuries, survivors passed down partial resistance through generations. This invisible armour would later become Europe's deadliest weapon. When Europeans arrived in the Americas, they brought guns, horses, steel, and smallpox. The indigenous peoples of the Americas had never encountered the virus before. They had no antibodies, no inherited immunity, and no idea what was coming. The first major outbreak likely occurred after Hernan Cortes arrived in Mexico in 1519. By 1520, smallpox had reached the Aztec capital of Tenochtitlan. Spanish accounts describe horror, people covered in sores, unable to move, collapsing into the canals and streets. The Aztec Empire, a society of millions, was crippled in months. When Francisco Pizarro invaded the Inca Empire a decade later, smallpox had already beaten him there. The disease had raced ahead of European explorers, killing the Inca Emperor Huayna Capac and triggering a brutal civil war that weakened the empire before a single Spanish soldier set foot in Cusco. In North America, the pattern repeated. Smallpox decimated native populations, sometimes wiping out 90% of entire villages. European colonists, meanwhile, survived. Some even weaponised it. In 1763, British officers at Fort Pitt discussed giving infected blankets to Native Americans, a chilling example of early biological warfare. By the 18th century, smallpox was truly global. It shaped population growth, warfare, even religion. In Europe, parents prayed their children would survive it. In Africa, the virus followed the slave trade routes. In Asia, outbreaks killed millions at a time. At its peak, smallpox may have killed 400,000 people in Europe every single year, including 5 reigning monarchs. In India, it was so common it became personified as the goddess Shitala, worshipped in hopes of mercy from the disease. In short, smallpox wasn't just a disease, it was an empire of its own, ruling every corner of the world. But in 1796, everything changed. An English country doctor named Edward Jenner noticed that milkmaids who had caught cowpox, a mild disease of cattle, never seemed to get smallpox. So Jenner did something radical. He took fluid from a cowpox blister on a milkmaid's hand and scratched it into the arm of an 8-year-old boy. Then he deliberately exposed the boy to smallpox. The child, well, he didn't get sick. It worked. Jenner had just invented vaccination, a word actually derived from vacca, Latin for cow. Soon vaccination spread across Europe and its colonies. Even Napoleon ordered all his troops vaccinated, calling Jenner one of humanity's greatest benefactors. But smallpox wasn't finished yet. not by a long shot. By the 20th century, smallpox was still killing millions, especially in Asia and Africa. In 1967, the World Health Organization launched a global eradication campaign using surveillance, containment, and vaccination to stop every outbreak in its tracks. And it worked. In 1975, the last case of the deadlier variola major strain was recorded in Bangladesh. In 1977, the very last natural case of smallpox, variola minor, infected a hospital cook named Ali Malin in Somalia. 3 years later, smallpox was declared eradicated, gone from the wild forever. Today, the virus exists only in 2 high-security labs, one in the United States and one in Russia. Scientists still debate whether we should destroy those samples or keep them for research in case smallpox ever returns. Smallpox killed an estimated 300 to 500 million people throughout its time, more than all wars combined. It erased empires, reshaped continents, and even helped invent modern medicine. And while it's gone now, its legacy lives in every vaccination program on Earth, a reminder that science can defeat even the most unstoppable killer, given time, cooperation, and courage. Smallpox may have erased empires, but in the end, humanity and humans erased smallpox. Thanks for watching History of the World. If you learned something new, click subscribe.